If at any point during a movie, I start to get frustrated with the character, I'm immediately starting to edge toward the door. I don't like watching people make dumb decisions over and over again, and while I understand that not everyone acts in logical ways, I do expect them to have some basic survival sense. When characters in films don't show any, it's usually a sign that the film has a weak story that relies on weaker characters in order for it to make sense. Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows, and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today, I'm going over the film Hunther. It's written and directed by Alicia Kowser Jackson and co-written by Ivan Mabakov. It stars April Parker Jones, Hassan Johnson, and Erica Page. Hunther is a thriller with horror elements and a lot of deep emotions. The production quality is okay for a lower budget film, and the visuals and soundtrack are what you would expect. The cast does what they can, and nobody feels wooden. The movie's problems all lie within the story. It's nonsensical and frustrating to watch. I was screaming at the television the entire time. The story follows Morgan and her relationship with Charlie. After their wedding, things seemed great between them. She and her daughter Lauren move in with him, and life is normal. When Morgan's aunt gets stuck in traffic, Charlie goes to pick up Lauren and looks after her for the evening. The next day, something is off with Lauren, and when Morgan confronts her, she learns that Charlie touched her. She tries to leave him, but it inadvertently turns into a fight for her life. I'm going to start with the production quality, because the story is clearly the problem, and will take up the lion's share of this video. The acting, the visuals, and the soundtrack are okay. There are problems here and there, an awkward line read or two, but the quality of these aspects is not what's dragging down the film. Visually, the movie looks fairly standard. Camera work is smooth, but the shots are a little basic and lack energy. The soundtrack is made up of boilerplate tracks that are well used, but are ultimately forgettable. The cast doesn't have much to work with, but they're clearly trying their hardest to squeeze something out of this lifeless script. Hassan Johnson as Charlie is creepy, and the way he carries himself gives off this threatening atmosphere. It works well while his character is holding all the cards, but after the second time he got hit in the head, it was hard to take his character seriously. Every one of the actors suffers from the same problem. They're doing an okay performance, but the way the film is edited and the logic behind the story is so poor that it taints their work and makes it hard to enjoy. There isn't much for them to do in the first place. Hassan Johnson gets to look scary, April Parker Jones is perpetually terrified and desperate to survive, and Jasmine T. Curry doesn't actually get to do anything but look down and be silent. The rest of the cast doesn't get enough lines to do anything either. The first half of the film is a terrifying look into how an abuse victim can fall prey to a monster. Charlie is like a supernatural killer, stalking his prey, cutting off all avenues of escape, and isolating Morgan and Lauren. The film does a great job of making him scary and showing exactly why women are so terrified of men like him. However, after that point, the film goes completely off the rails. Morgan makes every bad decision she possibly could, as does Charlie, and just about everybody else in the film. For example, a hapless bystander witnesses some of Charlie's rampage, and even captures it on video. But then he watches like a lemming while Charlie slowly walks over to him and then waits patiently to be executed without even screaming. It's frustrating to watch, and all you can do is scream at characters who can't hear you, and wouldn't take your advice even if they could. The movie repeats the same cycle 3 times in a row, and each time it becomes harder to sit through. Charlie finds Morgan, but Morgan does nothing to defend herself while he captures her, and then Morgan finds a way to hit him over the head and tries to flee. She never attempts to kill him or secure him while he's unconscious, and Charlie magically wakes up within a few minutes every time he's hit in the head. He must have severe brain damage by the end of the film, because he actually got knocked out 5 times in the span of one day. The brain damage would actually explain why Charlie never secures Morgan or tries to incapacitate her in any way. He even has handcuffs that he uses on Lauren, but never uses them on Morgan. Let's be nice and just say that the story has a ton of plot holes and looks more like Swiss cheese than American. Every single character acts in a frustratingly predictable way, because all they do is the worst thing that anyone could do in a given situation. Only 2 people ever call the police, and somehow both calls got routed through the same corrupt cop, and no one throughout the entire movie ever screams for help, even when they're being murdered. The movie's ending is also a major problem. Morgan and her daughter are in dire straits with no escape in sight, and then with a sudden cut to black, their situation is completely reversed and Charlie is fighting for his life with no hope of escape. It makes literally 0 sense and ignores several factors that would have made it impossible. It does all this so it can end on imagery so horrific it will likely be seared into my brain forever. I did not want to see that, and it was a horrific way to end a film. I do not recommend Hunther. In fact, I actively encourage you not to watch this film. The story starts off well enough and does have some relevant social commentary to provide, but holy shitballs did it ever go off the rails. The ending is one of the worst I've seen in a while, and the entire movie before that is just a frustrating train wreck. Sometimes the story is so bad it sinks the whole film. 3 out of 10.